welcome to another awesome day of FileMaker Doctor Surgery. I'm your chief surgeon, Dr. Carlton. We're here to do a proctology exam on your FileMaker database. So today's an exciting day about FileMaker. What do we do about FileMaker? Why do we care? FileMaker is this awesome platform. So today's conversation, I'm not entirely sure. I'm thinking sounds beginning and basic about email, but I'm thinking it'll get more advanced in the conversation. Once again, the live streams, we specifically identify people who are brand new to the FileMaker platform. Some of you are like this. Some of you are super ninja type developers with lots of experience, and a lot of us hang out somewhere between, brand new, intermediate, and then semi-advanced, which is kind of where I hang out a lot. As always, a reminder, we are broadcasting in high definition to 3 different platforms: Discord, YouTube, and Twitch. Discord probably provides the best experience, but you have to kind of log in and learn how to navigate the interface, which is a little different. As a reminder, if you want to support the channel, purchase one of the ongoing subscriptions as well. That helps keep everyone gainfully employed. So with that in mind, I'm going to quit sharing my screen here for the moment. I'm going to go to Zoom. I'm going to say stop sharing. And so we have Margaret, who's not here. We have HOnza, who is here in his amazing location. And so HOnza, what are we doing today, and why do we care? It's always the question I always ask. Can you answer that question?
Yes, so today we are going to talk about a little bit unusual topic from me, but quite important in the this age of FileMaker. When I went to school, I was taught that eventually every database becomes an evidence of population. So that was the old approach. The thought behind it is eventually every database is going to have a table with people, and if it exists for long enough, it will have all the people around the world in it. So that was the old look at the databases. Today's approach, or today's truth about databases and basically almost any business software, is that it needs to send emails, because we are on the internet, and email is our way to communicate electronically, if it's not a chat or a video call, but if it's something that's to be read later, it's going through email. And that's why also FileMaker has email built into it. And if I share my screen.
Yes, please share your screen.
Or if you are starting to use FileMaker, the first moment you think about, well, I need to send email from my database. So you probably start by using this script step, send mail, right? So that's built into it. And if you don't want to send it through your email client, if you want it automated, for instance, on a server, you will switch to SMTP server, or the new option OAuth 2 now. And that way you will send the email out of FileMaker. But this approach has quite a lot of limitations. So if you're a more advanced developer, you will probably use something like this, where with utilizing the insert from URL, where you construct the email yourself with a calculation, and the email actually
Throw me a beer.
It's constructed with a lot of curl options, and the body, the message of the email can be built like this. So this is already a mess for most beginners, but
I want to officially object.
So
Objecting that anyone who's here who's not the senior level ninja person, I would never use insert from URL to do an email. Okay, I know that you're a senior ninja, but normal humans don't do this.
So normal humans do what they need to do. So they look up the internet for existing solutions, and they grab a script like this one, which is prepared to just take a few parameters, and they use it without boring to understand the insights. But whether you use this extreme ninja advanced approach, or whether you use the basic send mail script step, what eventually happens, and it's happening more often today than it has been happening 5 years ago, is that you send an email and the email does not reach the recipient. And then you start pulling your hair, and uh, in the better case, you get an error code, and you try to search for the error code, what that error code means. If you in the worst case, the email doesn't reach the target, it doesn't bounce back, it just gets lost in the space, and you don't know why. And many of you have probably already seen that happening, but what I'm going to talk about now is actually what's behind the scenes. What's happening when you try to send email? What happens? What is necessary to make that email arrive, and what you can actually try, watch, and check to find out why it's not being delivered and how to make it deliver.
Okay, so let me frame something here real quick for everyone. So, and you can start this up, but the issue has historically been the email worked, and then bad people. Yeah, there you go, HOnza. That's your chance to drink. Bad people do bad, right? I remember back in 1997, I people go when you started to realize how wide open email was in terms of relays and things like that. You could send an email to pretend to be anyone. And I sent some emails out to my staff from Steve at apple.com, as in Steve Jobs at apple.com. And the email came through looking like it was from Steve Jobs. And the demonstration, the point was is that when email was created, it was never really created with the safety barriers in mind to prevent bad people from doing bad things. And so as the world goes on, I'm just framing this, and I'm going to give it back to you, HOnza, is that the bad people do bad things, then the good people who build security and stuff dial up the security restrictions to stop the bad people. Then the bad people up their game, and then the good people up their game. And what happens is the barrier to sending emails out simply becomes higher and higher and higher and higher. And the trick is finding simple ways of sending emails out without doing that whole page of code that HOnza threw up there, which sucks. If I had to do emails and it had to look that complicated, I would not fucking do emails, right? So understand that the FileMaker platform is about making, for the most part, complicated programming problems simpler. Doesn't remove programming. It just means that when you code, you get a lot better, faster. You get more bang for your buck in terms of your hourly labor and your return on investment, as opposed to coding something like in MySQL and a front end interface with Java and various other things. So, or JavaScript, I should say. So HOnza is going to do the slideshow, but that's how, like, the people ask me this question, how in the year 2024 we should have space stations, moon base alpha, eagles flying around, everyone has Mr. Fusion power in their cars from Back to the Future. How come email is a right? How come it's a problem? And it's because of bad people.
That's one part, and the other part is that because different companies are differently fast in adopting new technologies. So even today, email is based on 20 years old technology, and most mail servers out there in the internet are still using what has been current 10 years ago or more. So. But
Yeah, it's called Pop 3, baby. Right. So yeah, I got that. So
but let me dive into the
what
slides.
can you dive into this? I'd like you to dive into this immediately.
Which
No, I'm playing with you. I'm messing with you. Go. You're good. Go.
Okay. So let me start with telling you how mail works. It's just a reminder, and that's how regular mail works. And we all know this, or maybe the young people don't, but but the older ones of us know what this is about. So if you before email, if you wanted to send letter to someone, the way it worked was you put it in the outgoing mailbox. Then someone from post office took it out, and then it traveled from one post office to another post office. Then in the final destination post office, a postman took the mail in the envelope and put it in your mailbox. So this is how mail worked before email. And because all the stuff on the internet is simply not a new invention. It's just a new way to do the old stuff. So it should not be a surprise that email works exactly the same way. And it's even using most of the same technology, same terminology. But there is some new terminology being used, or at least it's new for me. It may have been used in the English snail mail as well. So it brings some new terms like SMTP, which stands for Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. MUA, Mail User Agent, MTA, Mail Transfer Agent, and MDA, Mail Deliver Agent. And in the today's implementation of email, basically what sits on the mail server is the multiple items together. So it's not only serves as the final post office, but it also hosts your mailboxes. And the mail delivery agent is actually a process running on the mail server, which takes the incoming email, finds out which mailbox it belongs to, and puts it in that mailbox. So that's how email works. And that's how it has been working for 27 years or so. Now, what is it based on in terms of data and components? And it has basically three components. Two are part of the message or letter that has a header. I'm actually using a example here, which I used in Czech, but the structure is more important than the text, so don't worry that you don't understand every word. So basically, the message consists of header and a body, and then there is envelope. Well, so this works in a regular mail, right? So you put a letter in an envelope. As it travels over the post offices, it gets some stamps over it, where you can read which post office it went through and what date and time probably, if the stamp is readable, and eventually it reaches the final recipient. Now, email again works the same way. It's very similar. So when you send an email, it consists of headers, small glitch. It's called headers, not a header, and then there is a body. And by the way, there is also an envelope. What is shown on the window on the right is an example of me sending myself an email directly through the SMTP protocol. So I just literally connected to SMTP and type in the SMTP commands to send an email to myself. And as you can see here, it still has those same components. And what you are actually telling SMTP server to do before providing the email contents, that's the envelope. So the SMTP process works by you connect to the SMTP server and say, hello, I am mail server from over this building. And that's kind of welcome message, some kind of negotiation, and the two servers talking together just say, okay, I am willing to talk to you. I am willing to talk to you. I trust you that you are who you say you are, and let's try to exchange some emails. Then the second part is okay. So I'll tell you SMTP, and I can actually show it live. It may be slightly it may be better. So let me switch to terminal, and let me try that. So I'll just connect to an SMTP server, and let's say, hello SMTP, I am HOnza. And now I want to send email. So I'll start with the envelope. So I'm sending email from this guy. And the SMTP server says, okay, well, let's send that email. So now I'm telling the SMTP server who is going to be the recipient. And that will be another me. And now the recipient, the SMTP server says, okay, I'm willing to send email to this guy. So what to do now? Now I'm just going to provide the email contents. So this was the envelope. This is the envelope telling the post office, which is the SMTP server, who is sending email and to whom. And as you can see, I could type anything here, and it's only a matter of that SMTP server either trusting me or not trusting me, that it's really me who is sending that email, and that I'm sending it to the right guy. So now I put in one important header, which is the date and time when I'm sending that email. Otherwise, it may not show in the right place in the email client. Now I can edit, give it a subject. These are already the headers. And now let's put something strange here. This will be the from header. And I can make the to header. Okay, let's send it to Richard. But keep in mind, this is not the envelope. This is the email header. So it's the contents of the email, not the envelope. So I'm actually sending email to HOnza, but inside that email, it will look like it was supposed to be sent to Richard. Now I'll put in some blah, blah, blah.
Live streams are so boring. It's horrible.
And email accepted for delivery. So that's it. So now I can just quit the session and let me check my email. So this is the email that I just received.
Okay.
And you see, it was to Richard. There is already some indication that there is something wrong. The mail server accepted the email, but it has added a warning sign to me that it might be a spam. So that's something that that is helping. But I'll get back to my slide and explain what's happening in the behind the scenes. Okay, so I'll get to David's question about telnet any SMTP server. Yes, I can, but it depends on the configuration of the SMTP server, whether that SMTP server will accept the connection from me, and it depends on different factors, which I will talk about later. So this is in more details the contents of email when it is sent by a proper email client, and this is specifically example of email which was sent to Gmail, because as I talked about the stamps that you get on envelope, you get stamps in email as well. Every mail server, like the post office, adds some information to the email headers. So if you open email headers in your client, where or you can open the raw message. Different email clients have different terminology for this, but if you manage to look at the raw message in the email, you will see that it begins with all these weird headers, and there are basically two kinds of headers. One kind is the stamps, so which are the like trace of where the email has been traveling, and some mail servers add even more extra information, such as is it likely spam, and why is it likely spam? Then there is something called digital signature, which is not as old as the email, but it has existed maybe for 15 years now, where you can actually get your email digitally signed by your mail server. If the mail server knows who you are, then it can be set up so that it adds a DKIM signature, which tells the recipient, provides the recipient information about whether it's really you who sent that email. So it helps to protect against the impersonation. And the way the digital signature works is that it takes your email contents, encrypts it, creates an encrypted hash of it, and adds the hash to the email. And it uses asymmetric cryptography to do that. So your mail server encrypts the message with or the hash with a private key that no one has access to, but it also publishes the public key, which anyone can use to verify that the signature is correct and that your mail content has not been tampered with. So that's an easy way how to verify that the email coming from you is really coming from you. The other part here, which is added by Gmail in the top, is how Gmail verified whether SPF has passed, which is another kind of validation, and whether DKIM has passed. So whether the digital signature was valid for that email. And the rest is basically about the email content. So as you can imagine, now in order to send text in different languages, HTML, attachments, it needs to be somehow encoded. So there is another standard called MIME, Multipurpose Internet Mail Extension, which defines how to encode the contents of the email so that email clients will understand it and display it properly. And that's what I was showing in the beginning with the insert from URL. That if you want to send email with HTML and that currently still FileMaker cannot send natively, that's the way how to do it. You basically have to understand the MIME and construct it, or have to use a script that someone who understands MIMEs created it. So I will not dive into the details of MIME. That's for another topic, but I will go back to about how the email actually travels from the sender to the recipient and what gets involved to prevent the bad guys from delivering impersonated email, spam, and other stuff, and to make sure that the email that is legit actually reaches the recipient. So, as I mentioned, it starts with an email that has some headers. And your email client, in this case, it can be a mail app, but in our case of FileMaker development, the email client can be FileMaker database. It uses the SMTP protocol to connect the post office. And first thing that is an extension from added to the original email concept is that it can also authenticate to the mail server. So if that mail server is my mail server where my mailbox lives, like for instance, mail server that hosts my domain to foryousoftware.com, I can connect to that SMTP server, and in addition to telling it, hey, I am a stranger that seems to be HOnza, I can also authenticate with my username and password to tell the mail server, yes, I'm really one of your legit users, and you can safely send emails in my name. And this will actually activate the digital signature if it's configured. So if you authenticate against the mail server will then be able to digitally sign your email to confirm to the world that it's coming from you and not from someone trying to impersonate as you. Once the mail server does this, it adds the digital signature to your email and adds it to the email headers. The next thing that happens is that from the email address of the recipient, it checks who is the recipient's mail server. So which mail server actually hosts the target mailbox. It uses DNS for this purpose. So it looks for MX records in the domain name system, and the MX records tell it. So this is the mail server that you are supposed to send the email to, and there can be more than one. Typically, mostly we are today using two mail servers, where the second one is called secondary, and the way secondary mail server works is that if the primary mail server is down, the secondary mail server caches all the incoming email and sends it to the primary one after it gets back up. And then once the email comes to the target mail server, then the target mail server is currently doing several checks to decide whether it should accept, deny, or delete that email. The first thing, and this is, I think, probably the oldest concept, is blacklist of known bad mail servers. So as spammers started appearing and people starting using email for bad things, one of the first measures that appeared was that people started building lists of all those bad guys, and they were simply listing the mail servers which were known for sending bad email. So they started creating blacklists. Interestingly, in order to not to have to invent a new technology, these blacklist mail servers, these blacklists are actually DNS servers, which simply have a entry for every IP that is supposed to be considered blacklisted. So they are not used as a regular DNS servers, but the technology behind them is the same one used for DNS.
For those of you wondering, can I ask a question? What is a DNS? Can you explain to people what a DNS server is?
Okay, so DNS stands for domain name system, and basically that translates the host name to IP address and IP address to a host name. So when you for instance go to a web browser and type in www.apple.com, the first thing that the browser does is that it contacts a DNS server and asks him, okay, tell me what that strange www.apple.com stands for. Where does it live? What is its IP address? And the DNS responds, hey, this host name translates to IP address 1.72. I don't know from the top of my head which IP address Apple has, but that's what the DNS does. And that was the very first original purpose, and today it's doing more. So basically anything that is related to the domain, the internet domain, such as rcc.com or do4usoftware.com. So everything about that domain is stored and hosted and managed by the DNS server.
All right, so let me help out with just a little bit of a clarification here. There you go. Time to drink. There we go. Good. It's like we have a team. This is awesome. So to say it another way, DNS is that if you go to apple.com, there's no such thing as a server that's really apple.com. Everything are these IP addresses. The IPs could be the older IP. They could be IP6, which is like a really long string, but every address, every destination on the internet, even when you're on a mobile phone, okay? You're on a mobile phone. I'm holding a phone up here. I'm assuming people can see this. Um, when you're on your mobile phone, it has an address. And and so this is not really richard.rcc.com or anything like that. That's what DNS does. It translates things that we would identify to the proper numeric, like a UUID number. It's a hidden, from your perspective of those you know what UUID is. I think that's almost what IPv6 almost is. It looks a lot like that. And the idea is that it's a string that the internet knows how to resolve. It doesn't know really how to resolve apple.com, etc. So if you go www.apple.com, that's one numeric address. If you go mail.apple.com, which is technically an mx.apple.com, that kind of idea, right? Then that would be a different address, because when you're setting up the domain, when you buy, say that, say Hot Air Balloon Ken decides that hot air balloons are a bad business to be in, and he invents a new kind of gum called Blue Chew. And so bluechew.com is Hot Air Balloon Ken's new business. He would set up a domain, he would buy bluechew.com, then he would have an entry for his web server. He'd have another entry for his mail server, which is something else. Now, he might use a service, go on to register.com or some service, but basically, end of the day, he has to set these things up. Whether they help him with not, he calls them on the phone, says, I don't know anything about technology, but help me out. Someone somewhere has to set the DNS up for you. If you have a DNS, especially as a website or an email, or and there's other things that go in there besides those things. You could also have a FileMaker server at apple.com, or I mean, if you go to like DBW13 or some server like that, there's a domain at rcconsulting.com, that kind of thing. You can set other entries up in there. And so these DNS servers, they collect, as they interact with people, they collect all these listings. And you could have a DNS server that collects all these listings from around the world, right? And so when someone makes a change, they say, Hot Air Balloon Ken forgets to renew his domain. It expires. Suddenly people get this notification. I can't go to hotairballoons.com. And Ken goes, oh, I forgot to renew it. So he runs up, he pays the bill, and then he'll get a message saying, this might take 12 to 24 to 36 hours to propagate. Propagate means that he's paid the money to the one company. They have taken his DNS entry, made it active, and put it back into the stream, into the river, the internet river. And one DNS server will talk to another DNS server, and that change will propagate its way through all the other. There's thousands of DNS servers around the world, right? Most of them are good, but some of them are bad, which brings us back to the blacklisting, right? So some of the DNS servers are untrustworthy. If I'm on the subway in New York or in the San Francisco Bay Area, and there's 100 people on the subway, 5 of them want to steal my wallet, another 5 want to knife me. Those are bad ones. We want to blacklist those people if possible. Blacklist means that when we see them, we automatically reject them. Oh, you're a known criminal. You can't come here. Okay. So that's a little backstory for those of you who are a little bit newer. Right. So
Yeah,
you can
and
continue.
by the way, we could do a separate stream just about DNS, but I like to say, just like everything on the internet, it's also not quite a good new idea. It basically is inspired, I believe, again by how post office works. So you can think of hostname and an IP address just like address and zip code. So when you send a letter with a regular mail, and you want to send it to Carlton Road in Santa Clara, the post office doesn't care about the Carlton Road or Santa Clara. The first time, if you don't use a zip code on the address, the first thing they do is they look up their internal directories, find the zip code, and then the zip code tells them which post office to send the mail to. And
Yep.
only there they look up the actual address. But between the individual post office, they use zip codes, and likewise, internet uses IP addresses.
Yep. And they said their little book, they look it up, or however they do that. It's all digital these days, but that's the DNS entry. It does the translation. So there you go. All right, cool. So all right, we're moving.
So
Oh,
So back to how email server accepts email. So at the moment, this mail sender contacts the recipient mail server, uh, even prior to telling, "Hey, this is me. I want to send email to you." The first thing it does, it looks up the blacklists and checks, is that mail server's IP on the blacklist? Is it a known bad guy? And if it's a known bad guy, it just drops the connection and doesn't accept any communication. If it's not on the blacklist, then the next thing happens, uh, and that is it checks the sender's DNS records, uh, and does some check again about the email that is coming. And the first thing it tries is it tries to look up what is called a DMARC policy. Interesting about DMARC policy, when I looked it up, I believe it's 12 years old idea or standard. Uh, and just recently, I think 2 years ago, Google, Yahoo, Microsoft, those big players started actually paying significant attention to whether your domain does or does not have a DMARC policy. And if it does not, then you're automatically considered more suspicious. So what that is, DMARC policy basically tells the rest of the world how you are protecting yourself or your domain against impersonation. So there are two other technologies which are referred by DMARC, and the DMARC and those are SPF and DKIM. And DMARC policy basically says, okay, if the email that you are verifying fails SPF validation, how I want you to treat it. And if it fails DKIM verification, how do I want you to treat it? And it has three modes. One is, okay, fails, but okay, but still accepted. I just want to be reported that there is someone trying to impersonate, but I do want you to simply deliver the email just like if it was legit. And this mode is typically used when you are when you have not had a DMARC policy before and you are creating a new one. So because you can have it badly configured. You can forget that you have that old server in the basement which sends email
Yeah,
on your
yeah.
name.
So,
And,
yeah.
and
So that's
so
HOnza, you're so smart. That's exactly what we turned on. We had DMARC and we turned it on, and Jacob said, "Hey, let's turn it on." And I said, well, let's turn it on with the normal setting. And we had like two or three or four processes that just totally quit working. So we had to turn on back to the mode where it lets us through, but it warns us. He had to do that. Right. And then down the road, at some point, we will dial it up. But yeah, exactly
so
what you just said happens.
so basically the DMARC policy tells that mail server, and if that mail server respects DMARC policy, uh, it gets one more info from it and say, okay, there is a email that failed the validation. This is what the domain owner wants me to do with the email, but it also sends reports to the email addresses that you specify in the email policy. And it sends two kinds of reports. One is individual report, which is called forensic report, and that's generated for every single email that fails validation. And then there is aggregate report, which I believe is sent once a day or so. And that's basically an XML containing the stats of all the failed emails. And there are online services which you can pay for, which receive those reports from the DMARC policy and analyze them and give you a very nice graphical representation of what is failing, what is succeeding, what are the most most used, most impersonated email addresses, all that stuff. So you can look for email analysis services. There are many of them out there, and it's definitely good to use them because they will actually tell you how many of emails being sent from your email addresses are failing to be delivered and why. So this is DMARC policy, and but the DMARC policy is just telling you, okay, telling the mail servers, should I pay close attention to SPF? So should I pay close attention to DKIM? I forgot to mention that there are two more modes. So the first mode is accept the email, just send the report. The second mode is called quarantine. Quarantine means let's accept the email, but mark it as spam. So it will probably be delivered to your junk or spam folder, or it will at least have a like spam prefix in the subject or something like that.
I have a question on this little yellow one that you have up here. Which
Mhm.
setting is which on screen right now? Which setting is that? P is quarantine. Is that the spam one or which?
Yes, so this says if it fails, use the quarantine mode. But you don't have to understand this syntax of the DMARC because if you just look up DMARC generator, you will find tons of online generators where it asks you a few questions, just like a wizard, and it generates this DMARC syntax that you just then put into your DNS.
Okay.
So you don't have to understand the syntax, and almost no one does. Um, only the nerds that have developed this. Um, so then the next thing, and the last mode is reject. So if you are sure that you all your mail is or your legit mail is using DKIM and coming from the right IP addresses, then you can set the DMARC policy to strict, which means that every mail that does not pass the policy is rejected and not delivered. And the nice thing about this, or I would not say nice, but important thing to know is the big mail providers, Microsoft, Google, Yahoo, they actually do pay attention to your DMARC policy. And if you have a strict DMARC policy, then they consider your successfully validated email much more legit or okay than if you don't have a strict policy. Because in other words, if you care about protecting your identity, then mail coming from you is more likely a legit email than if you don't. So if you don't have the DMARC policy, or if you have uh, if your policy is not strict, what you are telling those big mail servers is, I don't care if someone impersonates me. So if an email is received by those servers that's saying it's coming from you, by not having strict policy, you are actually telling them, okay, it may be spam because I don't care if it's not, or if it's spam, or if it's from me. And then you are automatically less trusted as a sender.
Ultimately less trusted as a sender. I'm just repeating that phrase. So there you go. Yeah.
So the next thing, the SPF record. Again, this is one of the old technologies, and it's still based on IP addresses. SPF is simply the opposite of blacklisted IPs. It's kind of whitelist, but the one that you manage as the domain owner. So if your domain is sender.com, in the domain records for your domain, you can add a special record which is called SPF record, and there you can simply explicitly list IP addresses of the servers that are allowed to send emails on your behalf. Again, there is a lot of variations. You can have less or more strict SPF policy. I would not dive into those details. Again, there are generators where you can just look up a SPF generator and it will ask you just like a wizard for questions. But the point is, it is telling the world these servers are mine, and they or contracted or trusted by me to send email on my behalf. So that's what you are telling the world with SPF. The next thing is the DKIM. And DKIM is what I talked about previously. That's the digital signature. So DKIM is a combination of two encryption keys, one private, one public. You publish the public key in the DNS, and your mail server uses the private key to generate the digital signature to your email. And then when the email arrives to the final destination, the final mail server can use the public key to verify that the email has been properly signed by your signature. So it's like in the old days, in the mid-age, where you would send envelope with a seal. So this serves as a seal for the email that confirms that you are the one who sent that email. So once it succeeds all these validations, there is one more check being done, and that is extremely tricky, complicated software called spam filter. One of the most widely used is Spam Assassin, which is a software that has like 7,000 or maybe more than 10,000 today rules, and every rule is some kind of examination of the email contents. It looks for weird phrases. It checks the proper
Well,
size of
let me help with this. Let me help with this. If I send an email to Ken, I say, Ken, look what I have. It's a blue chew. Then that adds points for that, right? HOnza may not understand the joke here, but we're not joking with you, but
Okay, so there are some signs of spam. When you look at email, just like a human, when you open email, there are specific signs that it's probably a spam that you don't want to read. Some signs are in the subject, like if the subject has 5 exclamation mark in the end and irresistible offer, words like this, it's probably considered more likely spam than something like this is your assignment for today, right? The same applies to the contents. There are specific terms, there are specific patterns that are being checked, and the spam filter simply goes through all those rules, and for every single rule there is a score. So let's say if the email has less than 20 words, then the spam score is increased by 0.5. If the email has more pictures than text, let's increase the spam score by 0.7. And it just go through thousands of rules this way and adds them up. And then the final number is compared to a threshold that is configured on the mail server. So typical threshold is if the spam score is on the range from 0 to 10, typical threshold today is between 4 and 6. So if the spam score goes over that threshold, the mail is considered a spam and it goes to the spam folder or is marked as spam. So that's the last check that applies after all the other checks. And simply because today's world, okay, you can have a domain, you can have a DMARC policy, you can have a DKIM, you can have SPF record, but you still can be a bad guy sending bad email that people don't want to read. So that's why those mail servers, even after all the other checks, still apply the spam uh, verification, which is updated on a regular basis. So it works just like search engine optimization. When spammers find a way how to decrease the spam score for the mail they are sending, the mail server guys find a new rule that they add to the spam filter to actually identify those emails. Then the spammers find a new way how to work around it. Then the mail people find a new way how to identify the new spams, and so on. So it's a infinite cycle. So that's in hopefully not too much detail, but enough detail to understand why email sometimes doesn't get delivered, and what to do to increase the chance that it gets delivered. And finally, let the recipient download it from the target mail server where you want the email to be. So this is what I prepared for you, and here are three useful links. One is three of the very many different tools and resources that I used to learn this stuff. The first one is just another way of explaining how email works. If you like this kind of learning more than watching live streams. The second one, I found a very good blog about how email works, and also how to protect yourself against spam, or how to increase the deliverability of your email, what's new, all that stuff. And the last one is a set of tools which includes SPF generator, DKIM generator, DMARC policy generator, and all different tools for verifying whether your email will get delivered, whether your mail server is properly configured, and all other stuff. So this is what I recommend using, and that's it.
Yeah, how do we reward you for your hard work? What do we do?
Okay, the best way is to go to the website foryoursoftware.com and go through it and find anything that resonates with what you're doing, what can help you. Under tools, you can find different tools. Some are free, some are paid, including FileMaker plugins. And under stories, you can check what we have done for our customers. And SLA, that's the primary business actually, where we take care of our customers in the long term. We can provide the development capacity, consulting, optimizations, hardware integrations. And we do it around the world. We have customers now in 79 countries already, including America, Australia, Asia, Africa, Europe. Not Antarctica yet, sorry. And so if you have anything not only related to FileMaker, but FileMaker is our passion, and our best expertise is in performance optimizations and hardware integrations, then get in touch. You can just contact us with this form. You can always put in your email to stay in touch and receive our newsletters, and you can go to news and read what we have for you.
Yeah, he's got a lot of great hardware integration, which I'm still trying to find a spot to use, because people keep saying I should like turn on lights, but really I need something proactive, like I can open a door, do something like that, or unlock a door, or drop bombs off the bottom of the helicopter, or do something useful. So
Just to show you how I'm passionate about hardware integrations, this just slides on my desk here.
what is that?
So this is a small board connected to 4 buttons, and this acts as a custom keyboard that I connect with USB to my computer, and each of those buttons is actually working as a keyboard key. So it's A, B, C, D keys, and I can use it for controlling software.
Yeah, all sorts of neat stuff to do. I have more interest in life than I have time, which is awesome. So once again, if you're interested in playing with the iOS app SDK that came up a little bit yesterday, even Christian Schmidt, we threw a bone back to you. HOnza's got a fairly inexpensive thing you can buy, which helps cut the corner and make the compiling and the setup or the building of the applicant. Once you have a FileMaker app, HOnza can help turn it into an iOS app much faster without you having to deal with the Xcode quite so much. He has a process for that. So that is another good one for you. It's called Xcode, like Xgoat.
And you can actually publish the app on the App Store in the end.
Yeah. So Xgoat. So yeah. Sounds like a goat. That's fine. That's cool. Every time you go to the website, it should make goat sounds or something, whatever goats sound like. Actually, goats make that screaming noise, right? That's a sheep noise I made. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Tomorrow's emergency resuscitation or emergency procedures. So when your FileMaker server has a heart attack, what you do, as a shortcut for everyone, if your FileMaker server dies, just restart it, auto start the databases, you're good to go. Or not.